The right fit. Okay, here goes nothing. You know, I never imagined my life turning out like this. I mean, I'm just Fanny from that dusty nowhere town, working as a waitress in the local cafe, and then ending up in this place, well, wherever this is. I grew up never knowing my father, and my grandparents did the best they could. My mama worked in a bigger city and I didn't see her much growing up. Mama was a beauty though, oh was she ever. When she was young, she dated movie stars and boxers. But now? She's just trying to survive just like me. In my small town, I was real popular too. The football jocks all wanted to get to know me, but I was repulsed by them. Small town men with a small town mindset. I wanted something more for my life. I wanted to be around classier people. The most I ever got with a boy was a kiss and a feel at a drive-in movie with Johnny, a local heartthrob, but he was small potatoes. Then, just after my 20th birthday, I got a call from Mama. She got sick real bad, lung cancer from those endless cigarettes, so I packed my meager things and went to her. Her little apartment smelled like medicine and despair. She told me, voice all raspy, I had to take her place at the Du Bois mansion. Said if I didn't, the pension she'd slaved for would vanish. Poof. Gone. She named me beneficiary, and said it would pay for a small house and a farm, something that I could start a new life with, but she wouldn't say much about the job itself. Just that it paid good, real good. When I heard the number I almost fell over, more than 10 times what I was making at the cafe, but besides the money. Gosh, how could I have known what that money was for? So, I showed up at that huge, imposing house. Felt like it was watching me. Cold marble floors, fancy paintings, silence thick as molasses. The master, Mr. Du Bois, who was like distant French royalty transplanted to the States, was hardly ever there, they said. Instead, there were these women. Beautiful women. Young, graceful, moving like silent ghosts in crisp black and white French-made uniforms, with very tight fits. Then I saw Cindy. Oh Lord, Cindy. Brown hair like silk chocolate, cascading down her back, eyes the color of mossy ponds, and a figure that made my breath catch. Full round breasts straining against the starched white apron bib, long legs and sheer black stockings disappearing into little black heels. I couldn't stop staring. She was mesmerizing. We became friends quick, sharing the tiny attic room they gave me. I found myself flirting with her, teasing her, which was crazy because I'd never felt that pull towards another woman before. Country boys back home had always left me cold, pawing and crude. But Cindy? She felt different. Safe, almost. Except she wasn't. She warned me about Mr. Du Bois, her voice dropping to a whisper. He's dangerous, Fanny, be careful. I just laughed it off. I told her I knew how to handle men, having fought off grabby hands since I was 15. Cindy just shook her head, looking scared. That scared me more than anything. Later that night, I saw more. Passing a dimly lit hallway, I saw him corner Cindy near a heavy velvet curtain. One hand was buried in her hair, tilting her head back, the other possessively cupping her breast through the uniform. She was rigid, eyes wide, but utterly still. Submissive. When he finally released her and walked away, she sagged against the wall, trembling. I confronted her later in our room. What was that? Does he always touch you like that? My voice sounded shrill. Cindy just shrugged, avoiding my eyes. It's part of the job, Fanny. What did you expect with the kind of pay we get? Can you make that at the cafe? I thought of my mama, working here for years. Did he do that to Mama? Cindy just turned away, pulling the thin blanket up to her chin. Go to sleep, Fanny. Her silence was an answer that chilled me to the bone. But something shifted between Cindy and me after that. The fear we shared became a strange intimacy. We talked late into the nights, whispering secrets on her narrow bed. One evening, I was lying with my head on her chest, listening to her heartbeat, my hand absently tracing patterns on her silk-stockinged calf. The feel of the smooth nylon under my fingertips, the warmth of her skin beneath, sent a sudden, shocking wave of heat through me. I got wet. So embarrassingly, undeniably wet. My breathing hitched. Cindy felt it. She went very still. Then, slowly, she leaned over me. Her face was inches from mine, her breath warm. She kissed me. Just a soft, tentative brush of her lips against mine. Then she pulled back, a faint, sad smile on her lips. "Don't," she murmured, her voice thick. "Don't get any ideas." We both laughed, a nervous, brittle sound, and went back to talking, but the air between us crackled with something unspoken, dangerous, and thrilling. Things got stranger. A party arrived. A dozen wealthy, older socialites draped in furs and jewels. Cindy and I served them, constantly bending, reaching, pouring. The air was thick with expensive perfume and cigar smoke. I bent to refill a crystal glass when a hand, cool and deliberate, slid over my buttock, giving it a firm squeeze. I gasped, straightening up sharply. An older woman with sharp dark eyes and blood-red lips smiled up at me, utterly unapologetic. I looked desperately at Cindy. She shot me a warning glare so fierce it felt like a slap. "Don't embarrass the master." The message was clear. Shame and anger warred inside me, but I plastered on a smile and kept serving. Later, I was sent to help the dark-haired woman to her guest room. She was beautiful still, in a hard, polished way. Her gown was midnight blue satin, heavy and luxurious. I helped her out of it, my fingers clumsy on the tiny pearl buttons. Underneath, she wore a matching satin slip, the color of deep ocean water, and lace-trimmed silk stockings held by a garter belt of intricate black lace. She dismissed me to take her gown to the laundry. When I returned, she was lying face down on the massive bed, completely nude. Her skin looked pale and smooth in the lamplight. "Come," she commanded without turning. "Massage my back." I was hesitant and froze. The command came again and I remembered Cindy's command to not embarrass Mr. Du Bois with his guests. Reluctance warred with the ingrained need to obey, to not cause trouble. I climbed onto the bed, kneeling beside her. I began rubbing her shoulders, the muscles surprisingly tense under my fingers. "The lace on your uniform is rough," she complained, her voice muffled by the pillow. "Take it off. It offends my skin." My heart stuttered. This felt like a line. But Cindy's warning glare flashed in my mind again. Slowly, trembling, I unbuttoned the black dress, letting it pool around my waist. Then I reached back, unhooking the stiff white apron. Now I was in just my plain white cotton brassiere, my serviceable white cotton panties, and the sheer black stockings clipped to the garters around my thighs. I felt exposed, vulnerable. I climbed back onto her, straddling her hips this time, my bare thighs against her warm skin. As I worked on her back, the friction, the intimacy of the position, the sheer wrongness of it all. I felt myself getting wet again. Arousal, thick and unwanted, pulsed between my legs. "Stop," she ordered suddenly. She rolled onto her back, looking up at me with those dark, knowing eyes. "Lie down. Here." She patted the bed beside her. Fear clawed at my throat, but I obeyed, lying flat on my back on the cool sheets. She didn't hesitate. Her hands, cool and strong, explored me. Over my brassiere, pinching my nipples until they hardened painfully, then down, slipping under the waistband of my cotton panties. Her fingers found my wetness, probing, stroking. I tensed, wanting to push her away, but a strange warmth spread through me. Her touch was expert, deliberate. She touched me in ways I didn't know were possible, finding spots that made me gasp and arch off the bed despite myself. Shame burned my cheeks, but beneath it, a shocking tide of pleasure rose. The pressure kept building and her strokes increased in frequency. I felt like I was going to blow and she reached up and circled her thumb around my nipple, and then it happened. It was a shuddering peak. I grit my teeth and made no noises, my body convulsed but I kept my silence through it all, not wanting anyone to hear, her eyes locked on mine the whole time. I finally breathed out heavily, my chest heaving. When she finally withdrew her hand, a small, satisfied smile played on her lips. "You learn quickly, my young flower," she murmured. I scrambled off the bed, gathering my uniform, my mind reeling. I ran out of there back to my room. I closed the door and sat on my bed panting. I hated her. I hated myself. But, God help me, I had enjoyed it. I didn't tell Cindy what had happened in sheer embarrassment and because I didn't want her to know that another woman had taken me first, but I was ashamed and exhilarated. The next few days were unnervingly normal. Just cleaning, polishing, avoiding Mr. Dubois's rare appearances. Then the head housekeeper, a stern-faced woman named Mrs. Gable, announced another party. "Preparation is required," she stated flatly. That preparation involved being taken to a tiled bathroom by Mrs. Gable herself. Cindy was already there, looking pale. "Remove everything," Mrs. Gable ordered, holding a straight razor and a bowl of soapy water. Humiliation washed over me. Being completely bare down there? It felt barbaric. Cindy met my eyes, a flicker of shared dread passing between us, but we obeyed. The scraping of the razor was mortifying, leaving my skin feeling raw and shockingly exposed. Cindy endured it stoically, but I saw tears welling in her eyes. We were both rendered utterly smooth, like little girls again, but the intent felt anything but innocent. The party that night was larger, louder. Beautiful women in glittering gowns filled the rooms. Their eyes followed Cindy and me as we served. Hands were everywhere. A casual stroke on my stocking thigh as I passed a chair. A firm pat on my bottom as I leaned over a table. Fingers brushing my cheek, then tilting my chin up for a quick, wine-scented kiss from a woman with silver hair. It was constant, invasive. And the confusing thing? The heat returned. That treacherous wetness. I felt a flush on my skin, an unwanted excitement buzzing under the surface. I was the center of attention, and some deep, hidden part of me loved it. Needed it. After dinner, the group moved to the main salon for brandy. The atmosphere grew wilder, laughter louder, inhibitions clearly lowered. "Girls," one woman called out, her voice rich and commanding. "Sit. Join us." She gestured to the plush velvet sofa. Cindy shot me a look, part warning, part resignation. We sat, perched nervously on the edge. Immediately, we were surrounded. Elegant hands touched my face, traced my collarbone, slid over the bodice of my uniform to cut my breasts through the fabric. Lips pressed against mine, different perfumes mingling, tongues probing. It was a whirlwind of sensation. I was kissed by women with soft lips and sharp teeth, touched by hands both gentle and demanding. My body responded shamelessly, melting into the touches, the heat between my legs becoming an insistent throb. I saw Cindy similarly engulfed, her eyes wide but her body pliant. I lost track of time, lost in a haze of forbidden pleasure, passed from one woman to another until I was dizzy with it. Then, strong hands gripped my arms, pulling me gently but firmly from the sofa. It was two of the maids, not guests. They guided me, unsteady on my feet, up the grand staircase, down a dimly lit corridor I didn't recognize, and into a bedroom. It was unlike any other room in the house, all dark wood, heavy red velvet drapes, and a massive bed. "Wait here," one whispered, her voice husky. They left, closing the door softly behind them. I stood in the center of the room, heart pounding, the scent of sandalwood and something musky filling my nostrils. What now? The door opened again. Two stunning blonde women entered, maybe in their 30s, wearing only matching sets of peach-colored lace lingerie, very tight fits. The bras were demi-cups, showcasing their full, rounded breasts, the fabric sheer with intricate floral patterns. The panties were mere wisps of lace, matching garters holding up nude silk stockings. Their figures were perfect, like statues come to life. They smiled, predatory and kind all at once, and moved towards me. Without a word, they began undressing me. Their fingers were deft, unhurried. They peeled off my uniform, my plain underthings, until I stood as bare and smooth as they were. Their hands explored my body, caressing my newly sensitive skin, pinching my nipples, making me gasp. One kissed me deeply, her tongue exploring my mouth, while the other cupped my breast, her thumbs circling the peak. Then they guided me into an adjoining bathroom where a large marble shower stall steamed. Under the warm spray, they soaked my body, their hands sliding everywhere, lingering between my thighs. One woman pressed me against the cool tile, her mouth finding my breasts, sucking and nibbling, while the other knelt before me. Her fingers parted my folds, finding that intensely sensitive bud. Her touch was unlike anything before, knowing, relentless, building pressure with expert circles and flicks. Like last time, the pressure inside me built up but faster this time, as I was much looser. I moaned and moaned until I cried out, my fingers tangling in her wet hair as wave after wave of shocks shot through me, my body convulsed, back arched, me pressing her hand hard onto my contracting insides. I was spent, leaving me trembling and weak-kneed against the tile. It was mind-blowing, a release so profound I almost sobbed. Afterwards, the women caressed and kissed me deeply, our soapy bodies mingling and sliding off each other in the steamy mist. It was an incredible sensation. I will never forget it. Afterwards, they dried me gently with thick, soft towels and led me, still dazed, back into the dark bedroom. They laid me down on the cool, silky sheets of the enormous bed. And then I saw him. Mr. Dubois stood near the window, silhouetted against the faint light. He wore only a dark red silk robe, loosely tied. It gaped open, revealing a hard, muscled chest and the undeniable evidence of his arousal pushing against the silk. Fear, cold and sharp, sliced through my lingering pleasure. I'd never been with a man. Never wanted to be. The two women climbed onto the bed with me, their naked bodies warm against mine. They began kissing me again, touching me, reigniting the fire the shower had temporarily quenched. One sucked on my nipple while the other trailed kisses down my stomach, her fingers stroking my wetness. I moaned, arching into their touches, the fear momentarily drowned out by the renewed surge of sensation. Mr. Dubois approached the bed. I watched him, paralyzed, as he untied his robe and let it fall. He was fully aroused, his manhood thick and so massive. I couldn't believe the size of it. It didn't look real. The women moved aside slightly, but kept their hands on me, stroking my thighs, my stomach, keeping me receptive. He climbed onto the bed, his weight dipping the mattress. His eyes, those dark, fathomless chips, held mine. He didn't speak. He didn't need to. His hand slid up my inner thigh, parting my legs further. His touch was impersonal, assessing. Then he positioned himself. I felt the blunt pressure, the terrifying invasion as he pushed against me. I gasped, a sharp intake of breath at the unfamiliar stretch, the pain. I kept shaking my head, my face with a terrified look, but I didn't say anything. He pushed a little further, more sharp pain, but I was so wet I was allowing him in. The stretching feeling was so immense I felt like my legs would split apart and fall off my body. He went slowly, advancing inch by agonizing inch, giving me time to adjust. Soon, he was fully inside me, filling me in a way I had never imagined possible. He reached down and kissed me deeply, and for some reason I kissed back. Us mingling our tongues in a ritualistic dance. He began moving, slow, deep thrusts at first that filled me completely then left me completely empty. The women beside me continued their ministrations, one kissing my neck, the other stroking my sensitive bud with slick fingers. The pain subsided, replaced by a growing, overwhelming fullness, a friction that built heat deep inside, my pressure again, but this was more like a ache. Below my belly. His thrusts grew harder, faster, more demanding. I felt myself responding, my hips lifting slightly to meet his, a low moan escaping my lips. The sensations collided, the invasion, the mastery in his movements, the skillful touches of the women, the sheer intensity of it all. The pleasure built, coiling tighter and tighter, until it shattered. I cried out loudly, my body convulsing around him as an incredible pleasure wave crashed through me, over and over. I yelled, eyes closed, chest heaving, leaving me breathless and my legs trembling. He continued his invasion, stroking in and out harder now, even longer distances. I could hardly believe what was happening. How could I fit such a thing in me? The ladies stared down at the point of entry, they were marveling at the sight. He groaned then, a low, guttural sound, and thrust deeply one last time. I felt the hot rush of his release inside me, it was hot and sticky. So much of it. Over and over. Pushing into me, it was the marking of his possessive claim. A claim over my innocence, my mind. He held himself there for a moment, buried deep, before withdrawing. The ladies pounced on his withdrawn member and eagerly lapped up all the shiny liquid that was oozing out, like it was precious. They seemed to suck out more of it, swallowing something. He breathed out deeply and then he stood, picked up his robe, and left without a backward glance. The two women gently cleaned me with a soft cloth, their touches now almost soothing, before silently leaving me alone in the dark, my body humming, my mind awhirl. I didn't know what just happened to me, but it was the most pleasure I had ever felt in my entire life. I also felt changed. Broken open. Awakened. That night Cindy didn't return to the room and I was worried for her, but my mind wandered, imagining the types of things that she could be experiencing. The next morning, I woke feeling strangely powerful. The fear was gone, replaced by a thrumming confidence. I looked at my reflection in the small attic mirror. My eyes seemed darker, knowing. That evening, Mr. Du Bois was absent again. Cindy invited me to cuddle on her bed. We drank expensive red wine from the cellar from chipped, old teacups, listening to some crooner on her little Bakelite radio. All I had on was my cotton white nightgown, no panties. She wore a pale pink silk robe, loosely tied. It gaped open as she moved, revealing the swell of her breasts, the pink soft nipples peeking through the thin silk. The sight sent a jolt straight to my core. The memory of her kiss, the shower, the women, Mr. Du Bois, it all flooded back, hot and urgent. I wanted her. Needed her. I set down my cup, my hand trembling slightly. I leaned over and kissed her. Not tentative this time. Hungry. Demanding. She responded instantly, her mouth opening under mine, her arms wrapping around me. We fell back onto her narrow bed, a tangle of limbs and silk. Our kisses grew feverish, hands exploring, pulling at the robe until it fell open completely. Her skin was so soft. I kissed my way down her neck, over her collarbone, down to her breasts. I took one peaked nipple into my mouth, sucking gently, then harder, relishing her gasp. My hands slid down her flat stomach, over the curve of her hip, and between her legs. She was already wet, so slick and hot. She moaned, arching into my touch. Then she pushed me gently onto my back. Her eyes, dark with desire, held mine as she kissed her way down my body. Over my stomach, my hips, the newly sensitive skin of my inner thighs. Then her tongue found me. Oh God. It was slow at first, teasing circles that made me whimper. Then firmer, lapping at my wetness, finding that incredibly sensitive bud. Her tongue was soft, persistent, knowing exactly how to move, how much pressure to apply. Her finger invaded my wet slit, entering in and out. She alternated broad strokes with focused flicks, her other hand holding mine as I writhed side to side. The pleasure built, intense and relentless, centered entirely on where her mouth worshipped me. It was different from the shower, different from Mr. Du Bois. This was intimate, knowing, tender yet demanding. She brought me to the edge, let me hover there trembling, then pushed me over with a final, sustained pressure of her tongue. I cried out, my back arching off the bed as the climax tore through me, leaving me gasping and boneless. She kissed her way back up my body, settling beside me, a small, satisfied smile on her swollen lips. We didn't speak. We didn't need to. After that, there was no going back. I took the full-time position. The mansion wasn't just a job anymore, it felt like my purpose. My world narrowed and expanded all at once. I learned about the auction parties. held in a hidden downstairs salon, thick with cigar smoke and expensive cologne. Men in sharp suits, their eyes assessing, hungry. I was paraded, wearing something chosen for me, once, a scandalously short black satin negligee, barely covering my bottom, with spaghetti straps and a plunging neckline that showcased my breasts. Another time, a corset of emerald green brocade, laced so tight my waist looked impossibly small, pushing my breasts up high, paired with matching green silk stockings and garters. The men bid, their voices low, their eyes stripping me bare. The winner would take me to a private room, or sometimes, shockingly, directly to a large tiled shower room. Standing under the spray with a stranger, his hands slick with soap exploring every inch of my shaved body, his arousal pressing against me, while water sluiced over us, it became routine. A transaction. Yet, my body still responded, the wetness coming easily, the heat building under their impersonal touches. Submission became a strange kind of power. Then there was the party with the table. Mrs. Gable dressed me in layers of exquisite black lace. First, a teddy, the bodice sheer lace cups barely containing my breasts, the bottom a slightly denser lace that still revealed the shadow of my smoothness beneath. Over that went a robe of the same intricate lace, completely sheer, fluttering open with every movement. My stockings were pure black silk, held by garters of delicate black lace straps. They led me to a large, polished mahogany table in the center of the red room. Heavy velvet cords were produced. They tied my wrists to the table legs at the corners, spreading my arms wide. Then my ankles, pulled apart, leaving me utterly exposed, spread-eagled on the cool wood. The lace provided no modesty, it was a frame, an adornment for what lay beneath. A crowd gathered, men and women both, watching with avid eyes. 3 men were chosen. They approached the table. The first, older, with silver hair, bent down to the table and kissed me roughly, his hands kneading my breasts through the lace. The second, younger, positioned off to the side, his fingers explored between my legs, finding my wetness, stroking me to a fever pitch. The third, dark and intense like Mr. Du Bois, positioned himself between my spread legs. I felt the blunt pressure, then the deep, filling thrust as he entered me. He moved with steady, powerful strokes. Before I could fully adjust, the first man guided his hardness to my mouth. I tasted salt and skin as he pushed himself between my lips. I cried out, a muffled sound around the thickness in my mouth. The pain was intense, shocking, a violation deeper than anything before. Tears welled in my eyes. But then, something shifted. The pain blurred, mingled with the overwhelming sensations, the thrusting inside me from both ends, the hardness filling my mouth, the hands pinning my hips. The shame, the degradation, it twisted into a perverse thrill. My body, traitorously, began to respond. Heat surged through me, a dark, consuming aching. The men moved in rhythm, their grunts filling the air, their possession complete. The sensations built, colliding and merging into an unbearable tension. When the climax hit, it was seismic, tearing through me with brutal force, a release born of utter surrender. They released their liquids within me, one after the other, hot pulses deep inside, marking me. They untied me, leaving me lying on the table, trembling, sore, covered in sweat and their essence, the lace torn and askew. The crowd applauded, a soft, appreciative sound. Lying there, staring up at the ornate ceiling, a profound sense of peace washed over me. The shame was there, a faint echo. The pain was real. But stronger, washing over everything else, was a deep, resonant feeling, being the center of attention, the how nexus of desire. This exposure, this surrender, this complete giving over of my body and will, it felt like coming home. Like shedding a skin I never knew was suffocating me. The small-town girl who dreamed of escape hadn't found freedom in the city lights. She'd found it here, on this table, bound and ravaged. In the submission, I found myself. For the first time in my life, Fanny felt whole. This was where I belonged. This was who I was meant to be. The mansion's secrets were my truth now. And I wouldn't trade it for the world. You know, I never thought I'd say that. But it's true. It's where I finally fit.